What offensive things do the majority of women do that is unknowingly or knowingly hurtful? Probably not the majority, but something I've seen a lot online is assuming everything is about ego with men and dismissing their legitimate feelings. For example, if a man makes a shitty comment to a woman, they would say you hurt her feelings. But if a woman made a shitty comment to a man, they would say you hurt his ego, thus invalidating his feelings and framing it as his problem. This is an excellent point, and one that I had never thought of. Thank you for the insight. Women are increasingly pushing for men to express their emotions and be more vulnerable. I'm all for that. Toxic masculinity is terrible, but in practice, we are almost never rewarded for doing so. Our feelings are tolerated, at best. A while back I went on r/askwomen saying I was trying to get to know a new woman in my life, but I was having real trust and self-image issues after an ex-GF just royally screwed me, took me for a ride, and literally almost got me killed. That followed by a couple not so great relationships. I was trying to make sure I wasn't getting pulled toward a way of thinking I definitely did not want to be. A couple women gave me very sincere answers. A couple were very sweet. A couple said some stuff about some self-reflection on my part, which I needed to hear and was great. A couple missed the mark, but were really genuinely trying to reach out. But the vast majority said get over it. Get over yourself. Grow up. Man up. It's not the new girl's fault. Oh, noon woman wasn't nice to you? Boo-hoo. And turned it into a me being egoistic thing. Can you imagine if a woman were to say I'm having trust issues after my BF did some terrible things to me and people told her get over it? I don't think I'll ever seek advice there again. Like was said, it's not the majority, or even a lot, but it's enough that trying to seek help was not worth it. I think people are pretty much people and we all have similar flaws. However, several years ago, I used to work in a team of about 12 where I was the only man and several women regularly moaned about how there were no good looking men in the company. That was a moral booster. Being the only man at a job taught me a lot about women. It seems your coworkers also had zero empathy or manners. The sexist bulls they would openly say would have had me fired had I said anything remotely the same. But I would never say those things. It shocked me the S they came out with openly at work. A piece of advice I give to any guy that has a bad tendency to put women on pedestals is to find a workplace that is female dominated. Will put any misconceptions you had to bed really fast. Or you could tell them to clean restrooms for a few months. Women make way worse messes in there. I never had to clean poop off of stall walls, floor, or out of the tampon disposal bin in the men's room. For most of my life, I've been the only guy in my family. The things that probably did the most damage were passive assumptions that I was bad at girl things. Did you clean it, or did you boy clean it? Ugh. Boys are so dirty, it's so hard to watch a man do such a bad job. Every time my sisters or my mom said these types of things, it just reinforced the stereotypes. Every time I tried to learn, I was belittled. So I stopped trying. Now I'm an adult man that has to teach himself how to do all these girl things that are really just people things. So I guess I would say, don't reinforce the stereotypes, and don't drag people down when they are trying to help outside of their comfort zone. A couple years back I learned I shopped like a man. I thought following the list was what you do. Believing that passive aggressiveness is a valid form of communication. Lots of women will be passive aggressive and think a man is being stupid for not reading between the lines. It's just a horrible, loaded, and unhealthy form of avoidance and not really communication. It's also cowardice in that one can avoid actually making a statement so they can say they meant something else. I think most men get it and play dumb or are trying to get the other person to be honest instead of manipulative. It's not that women communicate better or in a more complicated way, but many are communicating in a manipulative and unhealthy way. It's incredibly offensive to be dishonest. My current girlfriend will read when she's mad, but her favorite hobby is reading and does it all the time. Then she gets mad when I don't notice she is mad. She finally told me it's her facial expression that should give it away. Her facial expression changes as she reads, depending on what's going on. Pretty fucking annoying. Get her an I'm angry bookmark. My GF recently got gifted a reversible pink octopus plushie. You essentially show your mood to the world with this cute reversible plush octopus that's either happy or irritated. The few times she has used it has helped us avoid getting into exactly this situation. 9/10 times I have learned you just have to feed her. Edit. Noticed your username, you probably already knew that. I find that women are more likely to be passive aggressive than men are. My last ex would make passive aggressive comments to me and was genuinely unaware that she was doing it until I called her out for it. Someone I dated said super hurtful things without knowing it. When I called her out, she was genuinely caught off guard by it and hadn't recognized anything she said. Some people just have really low self-awareness. It's a lack of empathy. They can't see how their behavior and words affects others, regardless of how shitty they are to people. Denigrate men, and then, if you call them out, they respond, "Oh, fragile male ego, apostrophe. I had a friend who treated her boyfriend like this. Her understanding of love was that he takes whatever abuse she gives him without flinching or complaining, and doesn't ever do anything back." Saying the opposite of what they actually want/need. My girl says she don't wanna talk to me all the time, but if I actually grant that wish, she's going to have a complete meltdown later from spiraling in her own head of doubts and fears. I've tried it a few times. Most men prefer things simple and clear. Say what you mean what you say. If you don't, we are stuck in that weird place of trying to decide whether we are being told the truth or misdirected. And if we get it wrong, the whole thing gets worse. The best thing about a no-win situation is you can do whatever you want. Feo. I never thought of it like this. The most hurtful thing they can ever do is make it abundantly clear to you that you're only worthy of their love for as long as you remain healthy and strong and are able to provide. I once heard this explained this way: just as women deserve to be treated as more than sex objects, men deserve to be treated as more than success objects. As a woman, I found this to be a really powerful way to understand the anxieties and traumas our culture puts on men. It dehumanizes men in pretty much exactly the same way reducing women to blowjob machines does. I enjoy sex, but it took me a long time to accept that it's okay if I don't always feel like it, and that I'm not less lovable if I'm not up for sex. It made me realize that a lot of my husband's anxiety, stress, and self-esteem issues had to do with feeling less lovable if we were tight on money or couldn't afford something we wanted. After that realization, I make it a point to reinforce that while I appreciate my husband's drive and work ethic, the things I love most about him have nothing to do with how much money he makes and what our lifestyle looks like. When we started dating, he was living in a tent in his friend's backyard, and I'd still love him if he quit his job and we started over. Spot on. The fastest way to ruining a relationship is for both sides to start treating it like a transaction rather than a partnership. I think a lot of women make quite hurtful jokes about men's bodies. I know men do this to women too, but we all know this is wrong. I don't make jokes about people's bodies, men or women. True that. I heard a female friend of mine saying men below 6 feet and bald men are not real men. Apostrophe. She obviously hasn't been to Europe, India or the Middle East, where baldness is the norm. And seriously, I'm one of the few guys I know who is 6 feet. Baldness makes a man look more manly, lol. My wife is very progressive, and I'm pretty center left. She's into a lot of social issues including body shaming, women's issues etc, which I obviously support, but I make sure she doesn't overcorrect, because good men exist and are the majority over assholes. Contrary to popular belief, she's been dabbling with "I hate men" rhetoric recently due to dickheads on podcasts that people on TikTok react to. I've told her that rhetoric makes me uncomfortable. I've caught her several times making offhand comments about a random guy we see, that he must have a small p because he's driving a large truck, or seems like he's overcompensating. I made sure she understood how toxic that is, and that I do not support it. She's pretty much stopped completely, which is great. Guys we see may still be dicks, but we shouldn't base their worth on pea size. Macropy is a very real medical condition that people commit suicide because of. I like that you describe your wife as really into body shaming. I know that's not how you meant it, but it was fun to read, lol. Dismissing male victims of sexual violence. Oh man, I have a doozy of a story. I turned down unattractive women's advances and she kidnapped me for an hour or two. I told friends about it to get a handle on it because I couldn't think. Everyone laughed at me. First of all, if I hit her I go to jail. If I leave mark I'm in jail and blamed. I'm in a speeding car and she's running stoplights and stop signs, so I won't get a chance to leave the car. I don't have control over a car that can kill us both. But sure I can just bear poor her and walk away easy, no cops. She takes me to her house to meet her family and threatens me into saying we are together. I avoided going in. I got her to take me back to work and scared that she might kill me, shoot me or something, and no one would care. I told no one past those first few people. I'm so sorry man. Thank you. I really will. Don't know what to think. Attribute no agency to men for the positive things we do for ourselves. We are trained or raised right by the women around us. Like, if you refer to my good behaviors as though I'm a dog, I may as well see your bullshit commentary through and pee on your couch in spite. I've got a coworker who says that shit. I got annoyed enough at it once and said you don't treat your partner like that. Ever. She was pissed, but stopped with the comments like that. I don't necessarily find it offensive, but the double standard surrounding misandry and publicly devaluing men makes me worry for the next generation. I have a friend who has been trained by his spouse to constantly refer to himself as a simpleton, dumb caveman, and many other ways of reciting her rhetoric towards men as a whole. This man is the sole provider of his household, fiercely intelligent, and is one of the hardest working men I know. When he says all those self-deprecating things about himself, I just wanna be like, knacking, you're the man. However, he's been so trained into believing the negative self-talk he recites that he wouldn't even believe me if I told him, your friend's spouse is verbally abusing him. He deserves better. Chris Watts' wife did this to him, which seemed to be glossed over in the most coverage on the case. She would call him dumb and stupid in her social media videos, but then turn around and praise him in her text posts. Every time I watched something cover it I couldn't help but see verbal abuse in that, particularly with women on social media. She manufactured everything to be about her great little family life. Nothing was private. How much of this was motivated by her being in MLM I dunno, but because Chris Watts is a real pose for what he did. Anytime I want to discuss that part of the case where she calls him names and keeps absolutely nothing private, women just assume him about to defend CW and shut it down. Edit. It's happening right now. Because I mentioned Shannon's verbal abuse, people freak out like him giving CW an excuse, as I even said has a real pose. Expect men to not have standards, but have unreasonably high standards themselves. Yet he's an asshole if he isn't attracted to me because of my weight, but I only date guys over 6 feet. Ironically, them getting frustrated when you try and solve their problems. I appreciate that sometimes people just want to vent. I get that. But if you've been moaning about your job for the last 14 months and how miserable it makes you, after a while I'm going to not be able to have this conversation with you anymore. Get a new job or shut up about it. But if you start saying maybe you should get a new job, you're a bad listener and men are so emotionally stunted. I'm a woman, but I have had other women get really mean and nasty with me for saying exactly what you just did. You're not being supportive. You're a bad friend. Your friends shouldn't even talk to you. Why? Because after months of hearing the same goddamn complaint over and over and being supportive anyway, I proposed a solution instead. How is offering a solution to talk through not supportive? Agree 100%. First one is free because it is venting. Second one is case by case depending on the situation. Third time you're getting a solution because I'm already tired of hearing about it, and providing a solution is supportive. The anti-male isn't that. It's manspreading or mansplaining rather than that person is selfish or that person is patronizing. The self-entitlement of some women who then think they are bomb-proof in regards to displaying toxic and hurtful words and actions, but play up to being a princess if anyone dares to pull them up on it. Personally, I've found a lot of the time in relationships women have no problem talking about other men they find attractive, but God forbid I do it. I had an ex who was obsessed with Will Smith. Like, literally talking about how attractive he is, and how much she finds him attractive, and likes him/his movies, gushing over Hitch and even taking his relationship advice from that movie. Guess what happened when I made a comment about finding Shakira attractive? Lol. Keep Shakira's name out your mouth.